All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled mayor and council meeting for the town of Berlin. It is Monday, October 10th, 2023. Please join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've got a packed house here this evening, so if you need a chair. Are we out of chairs, Sarah?
We have some more in the conference room, and I guess there's some floating ones in the back closet, which I can get if anybody
Looks like everybody,
All right.
pretty much.
So please excuse some of our attire. Some of us may be dressed a little bit more casually. We did have a work session with the mayor and council prior to this meeting where we did tour Heron Park and the industrial building. So if some of us are not up to our dress code, we have not adopted a new dress code. It's just that we were at the work session before we began. So thank you for that. Before we get too far into the meeting, I want to introduce some guests that we have in the back of the room from the Scouts and their Scout leader as well. So if they don't mind just introducing themselves and explaining why they're here this evening, joining us for a mayor and council meeting.
Hi, I'm Clint Bickford. I am the Scoutmaster of Troop 225. Troop 225 has been functioning troop for a little over 30 years. We were once considered the Ocean City Berlin troop. Several years ago, we moved over to the Berlin Fire Department. We meet every Tuesday at 6:30 at the Berlin Fire Department, the old library. We used to be sponsored by the Ocean City Elks Lodge, but just recently came under our new charter organization, be the Berlin Lions Club. So we're just completing work with them to finalize all that. We currently have about 15 scouts. Today we have 5 of them with us who are taking the Communications Merit Badge. Communication Merit Badge, part of that is going to be to just basically observe your discussion, find a topic that you all are going to have some back and forth about, that the public will have some input about, and see some of the discourse of how you discuss it and how you make a decision on that. Go from the far end, guys. Can you introduce yourself?
Vincent Skiki, I'm the SB Elementary.
I am Alex Mitchell. I am Ben Starnes.
I'm Benjamin Goodman.
And this is Assistant Scoutmaster.
Sarah Woodward.
Very nice. Thank you for joining us. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all. All right, so first item up on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Orr,
Second.
a second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that the consent agenda passes unanimously with Councilmember Nichols absent. She will be joining us shortly. Up next is agenda item number 2, a swearing-in ceremony for some folks that we missed at our last meeting. We have Nikki Lowry, Laura Stearns, Angie, and Eric Mace. And if everybody's here, just come on up and we'll do a swearing-in like we did at our last meeting. All right, come on around here if you don't mind. We'll stand on this side. Just be careful with the cord. Come on, we'll stand on this side. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll all raise our right hand, and then when we get to the part where after I, you say your names, not anything else, just your names. And then at the end, it'll say, as a member of the town of Berlin, and then you fill in the board, commission, or committee that you're on. All right, so let's raise our right hand and repeat after me. I,
Laura Stearns.
Angie Mace.
Eric Mace, do swear and affirm.
Do swear and affirm.
Do swear and affirm.
We got this. That I will support the Constitution
That I will support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States.
and that I will be
And that I will be
faithful and bear true allegiance
Faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state of Maryland.
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
serve as a member of the town of Berlin,
serve as a member of the town of Berlin,
Parks Commission and Historic Commission,
Arts Entertainment,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
All right, congratulations. And before, we gotta get signatures and make it official. Oh, yes, true. Thanks, Mary. We need a picture after we make it official. The second way to make it official, right? That you make it in the Berlin Bulletin. So come on over here, let's take a picture and then I'll sign those.
Ready? And it's a little dark. Okay. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Congratulations again. All right, up next is item number 3. And I promised Councilmember Nichols that we would not embark on item number 3 until she arrived.
She's on her way.
She
She
is?
is on her
What's
way.
our ETA?
She was leaving Snow Hill like 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
Can we get an up-to-date ETA on
Parent
council?
teacher conferences, I'll reach out to her.
Okay, let's move on. If the group's agreeable, let's move on to agenda item number 4, and we'll come back to agenda item number 3. Natalie, you're up for the fiscal year 2023 financial highlights from our finance director, Natalie Slay.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I have Melissa Coffey with me today, so you can ask all the questions and she'll answer.
Perfect. Well, let's inform everybody of Melissa's new role. So Melissa's not new to us, but she does have a new role here with the town of Berlin. So let's elaborate on that first.
So Melissa was promoted to the accountant position several months ago at the beginning of the fiscal year. She's doing really well, as Rondell Wise have departed the town of Berlin. So Melissa was an billing supervisor for many, many years before. Now Michelle Patterson has taken her role, and we recently hired Cheryl Duggan as a customer service representative. She's downstairs. She's doing really well too, and we're pleased to have her.
Thank you, and congratulations publicly.
So I'm a little bit late, we're a little bit late due to some delays with the audit and everything else coming in place. So fiscal 23, this is a not finalized overview, but pretty much of numbers as it is non-audited. They will be changed a little bit as we go along and we receive the final reports from the auditors, which should be expected to be a preliminary in November, as we usually get them, and then normally they will come the first meeting of December to present the audited financial statements to us. So I am compiling the 12 months as we have it as of right now, fiscal 23, and there will be some changes later on. For everybody else, you've seen them before so many times, but just in general overview, who's the first to listen for tonight. General fund is accounted for all the general services, and the general fund is the biggest fund for the town of Berlin. It operates on revenues derived from the public taxes, which is real estate, property tax, and corporate tax. We have large amounts received from the grants in the past for the fiscal 22 and 23. One of them is ARPA grant. We also have licenses and permit fees, intergovernmental revenues such as highway user revenues, mostly used for the streets and the street safety, slots revenues allocated to certain projects. So all of it is spent as budgeted, and the budget is approved every year by mayor and council. Fiscal 23 budget revenue by source, some picture for visual and a little summary. Now those categories include multiple accounts, some together, so we don't have a long chart of them. but as you can see, the biggest amount or largest sum funds for property tax is 47%. We have budgeted fiscal '23 to be received $4.2 million. Other taxes such as A&A tax, franchise tax is a small amount of 5%, 447. I'm not going to go through all of the numbers, we've seen that chart before, but basically gives you an overview and a breakdown of what categories of revenues we have in general fund. General fund fiscal '23 budget was $9 million.
Excuse me, Natalie, real quick, just income tax would be in intergovernmental?
Correct.
Okay.
This is 12 months presentation of what we stand as of fiscal '23 ended June 30th, 2023, in comparison with what was budgeted for fiscal '23. On the bottom, we see that we have budgeted $9 million, we have received $13 million, which is a little bit over 4 is ARPA grant. You can see the large amount there, $4.8 million. That's inclusive of other grants as well. If we take that amount out of the picture of our large ARPA grant, we're pretty much on the level of what we budgeted of $9 million. So I consider that a very good pass. The only disappointment is the impact fees. We have projected to collect $135,000, but only 50 been collected. We had some, I guess, delay in constructions and whatnot, so that is over budgeted per se. Other than that, the two last line items, transfers from other funds and contribution from reserves, those amounts will remain as it is at zero till we do the audit and we see how the utility funds perform. And luckily, if stormwater and sewer will close in a positive after all their adjustments, we will be able to make the transfer and reduce the non-spendable balance of the general fund. General fund budget expenses by category, the largest amount is going to the public safety. General government is the second largest, public works. Planning department, recreation parks, we have debt service and general fund, and the capital outlays, we have budgeted $1.5 million for all of the projects. Some of them were funded by ARPA grant, but not all of them been completed in fiscal '23. We have carried a lot of them to fiscal '24, and we're still working on them. That is actual expenditures compared to the fiscal '23 budgeted expenses. We see a reduction due to personnel and staffing. There are some projects that we have not completed or items that have not been purchased. Those have been budgeted, and we know that we have some people come aboard in fiscal '24 in the police department and also administration. If we subtract our ARPA grant contributed revenues, so the change balance, which is basically revenues minus expenses, is $2.2 million, which would be considered our unassigned balance at the end of the fiscal '23. That number will be changed. I'm repeating again, that is just an estimated number of what we project. The other adjustments, depreciation and debt adjustments will be done by the audit, so that number will be changed as of fiscal '23. For right now, it's $2 million. It's on a good path. If we look at fiscal '22, we had 1.3, so I consider that's a very good, healthy performance for fiscal '23. Just to repeat a reminder for general fund balances, non-spendable is our due from other funds. Restricted, it's one category that restricted by the government. We have one restriction is our slots revenues, which is assigned to specific projects by outsiders. Committed and assigned is assignment by mayor and council. They have less restrictions and you have a power of changing them. Unassigned balance is what left at the end of the year, basically, and available for future purposes. Fiscal '23 balance, non-spendable is $1.6 million. Restricted, we have 447 total as a cash account. Committed consists of impact fees, debt reduction, and disaster recovery. We have 1.6 million. Assigned consists of insurance, police forfeiture, stabilization fund, community center, and capital outlay. It's 3.3. Unassigned balance, which the number you saw on the previous page, is 2.2. It will slightly change, but as of right now, in comparison with fiscal 22, we have 9 million. Fiscal 22, we have almost 8. Just the same thing, but in the visual presentation, the green part of it is unassigned balance, and the change of it since 2015 till 2023. The big dip and the gaps that we see in 2018 and 2019 due to some construction that we've purchased police department, and then we're slowly building it back to be, for the general fund to be more healthier and more stable financially. The same balances for the description and the balance of each fund. Projects completed for fiscal 23. General fund performed only. Wage compensation study done for $32,000. Comprehensive plan started, which funds allocated from ARPA is a small amount of $8,000. We have purchased Berlin surveillance cameras, which was grant funded as well. Public Works building engineering fees is just a discussion purposes. It's a start process that's going to be continue on to probably 2 or 3 years in the future. Berlin bike pass, small amount was spent there. Police department has spent monies on duty handguns and tasers, purchased a vehicle, 2021 Chevy Tahoe, security cameras, and the wellness access plan. They were both grant funded. Public Works, we have 2022 Ford 250 Super Duty truck purchased, and we've purchased the road barriers for the events, but money's come from the grant. Street and path pavings in the amount of $157,000. Snow blowers, zero turn mower, and super duty truck for the streets. Parks and recreation, we have playground equipment, Stephen Decatur comfort stations, Heron Park demolition amount, including engineering fees, and then we have Candace Park basketball lights.
So, Natalie. Hello. So Natalie, the Heron Park demolition for $25,200, we can just subtract that from the demo grant? Or is it-
Absolutely.
Yep, okay.
Electric fund. The budget for electric fund fiscal 23 was $6 million. 5.7 was collected in revenues. There is a slight decrease in miscellaneous revenues and also sales and services, and those two both responsible for jobs done by the electric department on several projects where we build the contractors back. So I attribute that to basically slower year in construction and development. Operating expenses come in way below, $792,000 below budgeted at 5.9. Again, we had some personnel staff shortage, and in general, some of the things that were not available for purchase, still recovering from COVID, and not all the capital outlay projects were completed. We were $470,000 that were below the budget, and pretty much all of them been carried to fiscal 24. So overall, electric revenues and expenditures difference of income, $178,000. Capital projects that been finished and assets been purchased for fiscal 23 in the electric department is a Super Duty truck Ford 250. HVAC was repaired, replaced at the power plant. Transformers purchased, street light foundations were installed. A large transformers were purchased as well. Power plant transformers and Victorian street lights, 6 of them have been replaced. Water fund, $3 million were budgeted for fiscal 23 in revenues, $2 million were collected. The largest change is miscellaneous revenues, and also not all the ARPA grant fund was distributed to, because if we look down on the capital outlay, we have not completed not even 40% of the projects. Most of it been carried to fiscal '24. The largest is smart meters and lift stations and also wells. So overall, there is a slight income over $139,000 for the water department, and hoping that we will close the fund in the positive after all of the audit adjustments. But even if it's going to be a little bit less, just like fiscal '22, it would be a good year for water.
Just hold on, let the record reflect that Councilmember Nichols is now with us. We have a full mayor and council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to have a minute? We're on page 20 in the packet on the sewer fund of the financial highlights for fiscal '23.
Thank you.
Sewer fund budgeted for fiscal '23, $4.5 million, 3.6 was collected in revenues. We have not transferred anything from the grants. That's big part of it was $1 million. That project got carried over to fiscal '24. And also we have a little decrease in special connections. The EDUs were not allocated as projected of 1.2, but only sold 259,000 worth of them. That is an actual concern for the sewer, because EDUs are responsible, or part of it responsible for capital projects and fully responsible to cover the debt service, which equals $568,000 for the total of the sewer fund for the year. When we do not sell and allocate EDUs and we do not cover sewer fund, basically covering the debt services out of the general revenues from the sewer fund. Nevertheless, the expenses come in way below, but the main part of it is capital outlay projects. They all carry pretty much to fiscal '24. We have small amounts, and we have a large amount as the operating income for sewer fund, but if we take out $1 million from the ARPA allocated, which were not completed for the projects, it's a small income left. I'm hoping that sewer fund as well, just like water, will perform on the positive outcome for fiscal '23.
The other thing, can you go back just for a moment? I think it's important to note that the hauler fees that are the actual for $836,424 is an abnormal occurrence, and we should not rely on that.
It is an abnormal. We cannot rely, because it's a temporary project that is going on. One of the vendors are utilizing the sewer plant, delivering the sewage from a specific project, which is not a ongoing. It's going to be stopped pretty much. So it's a big help, but it's only for fiscal '23 and part of the fiscal '24.
And kudos to Jamie and his team for handling that additional flow.
Right,
Because it
absolutely.
does have to be treated. So.
It has to be monitored. There's labor, manual labor involved with the computer, and also the plant is working hard too.
Thank you.
Water and sewer fund projects and assets for fiscal '23 are completed and purchased. The water treatment plant, there is a start point at the Powhatan Avenue Well House, funded by ARPA. pH regulated system, it's a treatment plant. The small amount invested there. Branch Street well, ARPA funded. Smart metering project is ongoing, but we have expensed $737,000, which is most of the actual inventory of the meters. The installation get carried forward to fiscal '24. Harrison Avenue North Main valves and William Street water replacement. There's some amounts been funded out there. Sewer fund, we have system upgrade for SCADA, and Jamie's not here to say what it is, but my understanding it's a system that's responsible for spreading the leftovers from sewer of $9,000. Collection system, William Street pump station, and Broad Street lift station, which is funded by ARPA. William Street Pump Station is this amount, and it's, I believe, near completion. Next week, we're getting together with Jamie, and we're gonna create a pretty much a productive sum of all the projects for water and sewer, where it started, where we are, and where it ended, and what is the projected date of completion. Once we do that, I can share with all of you, so you have a better understanding on all the wells and lift stations and the smart metering where we stand in.
Natalie, a year ago, Jamie was concerned about the cost of chemicals and materials, and rightly so. Have those costs come down?
No, they're not. They're actually is very aggressive in fiscal 24. I'm noticing that it's already over. It's going to be over what we budgeted. Unfortunately, it's not decreasing.
The pricing gets me choked up too.
Yeah. It does.
And I believe with new regulations in place, they have to purchase different chemicals as well, so that adding up to the cost. Stormwater is our smallest, stormwater. Revenues were projected to be 473,396 were collected. Grants were received for 129. Now, 110 of it is ARPA grant. I shouldn't say all of it received, but ARPA grant is 110, and then the small grant was received as well. 287,000 is the total expenditures, below what was budgeted, but the capital outlay, which is the improvements for the stormwater, not all of it was completed. Some of it carried to fiscal 24. It's a small loss, unfortunate, but it's a small loss. We will hope that it just remains as small as it is.
So Natalie, I figured it'd be easier to interrupt while you're, instead of maybe to the end. Since, I guess, when is the, I think I asked this last year, when was the last time, I'm not going to hold you to it, that the stormwater fund ended in the positive?
Fiscal 22, we had a small income.
Okay.
Now, the fees were increased halfway into fiscal 23, so we don't have a full year of fees circulated through 12 months to see if it's covering all of the operational cost of it. Fiscal 24 would be a good year to look at it and see if it's performing in the way it should be for operational costs, and do we have enough contributed revenues from grants to sustain all of the project as budgeted.
Okay.
144,751 was spent on Washington Street storm drain replacement, and 18,142 was spent on Franklin and Pine Street water improvements. That's the only two capital improvements were not in stormwater. This is all I have. Any of the other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Now, we're going back to the revenues for a minute. And maybe you already stated this and I missed it, but under the earnings on investments and other revenue, there's a huge jump in revenue for.
You're talking about general fund?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, because we set up special accounts for each individual reserve, so stabilization is separate account, and all of them are interest-bearing accounts. They're basically CDs per se, so have a little bit of higher interest than regular account. Not a lot, but slight. And we have more accounts set up for capital, stabilization, debt recovery, disaster recovery. So each fund, each reserve have a special account to name.
So that revenue stream could continue from year to year?
If
maintain
we retain the same balances at those accounts, you will see the same stream in interest income, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Natalie, I just want to go back real quick, since it's on our minds here recently. The Heron Park demo grant was $500,000, less the $25,200 in here, so that brings it to $474,800. So would I be correct in saying that that is what is the balance until we get the bill from the tour tonight?
I'd
Is that accurate?
I'd say somewhere around the 460 mark is where we've said that we kind of
That's
put the
roughly,
ballpark.
but there are still invoices from DBF that are
Oh,
yet
okay.
to be received. So that number was accurate as of the end of the fiscal year.
Yes.
It does not reflect what's occurred since July.
We have several invoices that get paid in fiscal '24 that is not part of this number.
So to be safe, well, for me, for a number for me, if everyone else wants to join in, welcome to the club. Should I anticipate spendable of the grant around 450?
That's what we've been.
Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, none of these amounts have been reimbursed yet. Is that the question you're asking, how much you are available to reimburse? So this is what we spend on engineering fees in general for demolition or demolition concern.
Right.
Once the grant is received, those amounts will be placed back against those expenditures.
No, I think he
No,
was
what
asked.
I'm asking is when it's time ready, when it's time for us to get down and dirty with a demo of something, how much will we have of the grant left? That's what I would.
Well, the total you will have of 500 as of fiscal '23, you would have allocated 20, what is the number exactly?
Right.
Right.
Yep. It's answered. It's the
You're
same.
having the same conversation,
Yep,
but in
we're
different
good.
directions.
All right, any additional questions regarding the fiscal year 2023 financial highlights?
Thank you, as always, Natalie and team, for doing this. You know, I love to have it, you know, when it gets up to the website, I love to tell everyone that it's there so that they can check it out and call you with questions. But great work. Thank you so much for doing this. And I'm looking forward to that additional timeline that you're preparing. So that's great. Thank you.
It might take a couple of weeks
Yeah, I'm not-
to get it ready,
whatever.
and then once it's ready, we'll just
Yep.
share.
Natalie,
Appreciate it.
Melissa, good job.
Yes. Thank you.
Very good job, great work, and I would just like to extend a big thank you to the department heads for the day-to-day management of their various departments. And I know pictures can be staged, but the pictures you have included of the facilities really make me feel good as to how they look and how they are maintained. So thank you to those department heads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
That's it.
All right, up next, we're going to go back to, we put the local impact grant multi-year plan, Councilmember Nichols, at your request. We had skipped over that item, so we're going to go back to agenda item number 3, which is a discussion item of the Mayor and Council regarding the local impact grant or casino funds that we received. In the packet, page 17 and 18, you will see the draft of a multi-year plan, relatively straightforward. It would go to the Local Development Council of Worcester County from the Mayor and Council of Berlin. The subject would be a multi-year plan spanning 3 fiscal years, so FY24, which is the current fiscal year, FY25, and FY26. Summary, since the inception of the Local Impact Grant, LIG, the Town of Berlin has utilized grant funding for public safety and intends to contribute or continue to prioritize public safety spending over the next 3 fiscal years. The primary public safety expenditure will be the Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, LEOPS, as we all discussed at our last Mayor and Council meeting. The residual LIG funds will be utilized for the following purposes, and these are taken straight from the legislation, which are infrastructure improvements, facilities, sanitation, economic and community development, and other public services and improvements. Due to the uncertainty of the current economic environment, the Town of Berlin is going to reduce our local impact grant revenue projections to $400,000 for the next 3 fiscal years. If LIG revenue exceeds projections, any changes to the expenditures will be reflected on the Town of Berlin's LIG expenditure report, which is provided to the Worcester County Local Development Council each year. And then at the end, it has the multi-year plan, and we'll insert the Excel table or items description once we've discussed that. And then if you go to page 18, you'll see the Town of Berlin LDC's multi-year plan, FY24 to 26, projected LIG grant. So there's a FY 2023 carry forward of $436,569. FY 24, expecting about $418,000 in grant funding. And then FY 25 and 26 are at that $420,000 level. bringing a total projected LIG grant that we need to allocate of about $1.6 million. So projected LIG expenditures, we've discussed this as a group. We need a LEOP stabilization fund, and this is taking the fiscal year 2033 amount. We rounded up slightly, but the FY 2033 amount, which would get 2033. The LEOP stabilization fund took the FY 2033 projected cost of LEOPs. So it puts us 10 years out at the highest projected amount based off of the LEOP study. And that's what we believe we should set as a stabilization fund. And how the stabilization fund would work is that, say we have a year where it comes in below our projections, the mayor and council could authorize the use of the stabilization funds to offset the cost of LEOPs, further stabilizing the town's investment in our law enforcement officers' pension system. FY 24 LEOPs payment would be projected at $340,000, FY 25 LEOPs payment at $350,000, and FY 26 LEOPs payment at $360,000. Bringing the total projected LIG expenditures at this time with the stabilization fund and LEOPs for the next 3 fiscal years at $1.475 million. The unassigned LIG funds are about $219,000, and that's at our more conservative estimate of the $420,000 in revenues each year. So with that, we need to discuss as a group some of the ways we would like to expend or prioritize expenditures for roughly that $219,000 amount.
May I?
Yes.
First, thank you for waiting for me
You're
to
welcome.
cover this. Sorry guys, we had parent conference at school, had to meet the parents of my students, and then speed here from Snowville. Get here safely from Snowville for this, so thanks, I appreciate you. My thought, what I'd like to see happen with this remaining balance, this projected remaining balance of $219,569, mind you, I've used common out of 8. I'd like to see that used or put towards our pending upcoming community center. I feel that those funds fit and align with the community center concept to go along with the $400,000 or thereabout that's in that fund, and being that we are in the process of developing this center, working on the plans, I think that the suns have aligned and this is just the right time to drop those funds right there to make that happen.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding Councilmember Nichols' proposal?
Not about that, but I have general discussion. And respectfully, Mayor, what is the hesitation to talking about all of this in a work session?
I don't know if it really encompasses the work session, but I mean, we're talking about it right now, so what would you like to talk about?
I mean, I would like to sit down with Chief in a work session to talk about how much over time his budget can slowly absorb LEOPs, because when we talked at the meeting last time, we wanted to phase it out, and this is phasing it up. Or, maybe I'm misinterpreting, is it going up because the 10-year projections go up?
So, at the last mayor and council meeting, there was consensus among the group to allocate LIG funds for the full cost of LEOPs, and then to find a way to allocate the surplus of that moving forward in a prioritization of multi-year plan. That's what I believe the discussion was at our last meeting, and that's what we have done here.
Yeah, I have a different recollection.
I'm beginning to think I'm going nuts up here.
I'd like to ask Natalie, so typically, in previous years, when you build a budget, you build the cost of retirement into each department's budget.
Correct.
So for fiscal year '23, police had a retirement fund built into their budget. Are you saying in '24, that would just go away?
It will be one total amount. Now, the retirement will be still paid for administrative staff, non-officers.
Right,
So there will be
all the
still a
officers.
smaller amount contributed towards retirement, but the retirement expenditure becomes LEOPs together.
But now that's now paid by the casino funding.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, why couldn't we still fund a portion of their retirement within the police budget and use this casino funding for other things.
Right, that's, right, I think we do have a bit of a disagreement as to what happened at the last meeting. I think the consensus was not to do 100% LEOPS. I thought, at least maybe because I recommended it, so maybe it sounded better to me. But I thought the idea was, or at least for the group to consider a concept of phasing out the LEOPS requirement. You know, so if we are going to the first year 100% LEOPS, then maybe we would consider 95% and 90%. Because I really do come back to, you know, we have to be big boys and girls here at some point and realize that, you know, we have committed to this as an organization and a government to support LEOPS. But while I love the idea of taking the LEOPS and stabilization, because I think that's a great first step, I would like to see us, you know, come off of that commitment. And I'm not talking about, because I did take to heart, Zach, what you said at the last meeting, you know, where if we do say we take $50,000 off the LEOPS, that's a penny on the tax rate, where are we going to find it? You know, so I don't have an answer, but I do believe if we came off of it like 5, 7, 9% over the 3 years, that is something that is doable for us. But you know, the $219,000 for the community center, you know, I guess I would like to see it spread a little bit more, but I think the community center, obviously, it's a need. I want to see that community center committee getting moving, I have to say, respectfully. You know, I think we would get, so we've had a meeting, right?
We've had
A couple.
A couple meetings, yeah.
and we've got them on the books for the remainder part of the year.
And the thing about the community center is similar to the police department. I'm going to say this, you build it and it's done, meaning that the majority of the expense is going to come in the initial expenditure for the community center. Obviously, there will be support for that ongoing, but it won't be at the level as building the building.
Sure. So that's what I don't have any disagreement on the community center. So I guess I do like the idea of spreading it out over different initiatives, but you know, community center, I know what that means, what it means for our community in general, particularly the east side, but I think for the whole community as a whole. So I would just go back to that revisiting of the LEOPS 100%, if we could consider coming off of it a little bit. And then we will have some tough decisions to make. I acknowledge that in the general fund budget process. But I just feel like it's a more, you know, professional perspective to take on that sort of expense.
What I'm saying, it's already built into payroll, so, or a good portion of it.
Mayor, just jump in. So I hear your discussion and you're correct, but in the same time, if you think in the bigger picture, funding the LEOPS fully, totally from slots revenue or funding a portion, police department is totally funded by the general fund. So if you're not funding the retirement fully, which is LEOPS, by slots, it's coming out of the general fund revenue. If you put in portion of slots to LEOPS and funding something else by general fund revenue, the end result is pretty much the same.
And what you do is make it harder on Kershaw to try and do the...
We would have to recalculate every single year how much would we pretentiously contribute to retirement system if it would be as a retirement system in the state of Maryland versus as a LEOPS, which is doable. I'm not saying it's not doable. But the end result will be the same. Even if we decide to build a community center out of general fund and not put any LEOPS, it's still general fund revenues. Police is not generating revenues. They're public servants, they're public safety, they're funded by general fund revenues, which is a combination of real estate tax and everything else, as I just highlighted a minute ago. So the bigger picture, it's from general fund.
And the other point is that, I just made it a second ago, but I don't want it to get lost. Every year, we have to fill out a form. It takes a little bit of time to go through, but simplicity is a good thing in the sense of being able to track how the money is spent and for reporting side for the finance department. I think that simplicity here has a long way to go. Also, I want to note that if anybody doubts our commitment to covering public safety expenditures as a town, and the financial report just showed it, over 30% of the general fund revenues, or expenses I should say, are associated with public safety. So we're funding public safety very heavily. my understanding that the group wanted to keep this clean, and I don't know where the additional funding will come from, but that's a discussion we're gonna have to have if we start to come back off of.
Well, so my idea was that, you know, whatever the projects are, or whatever the items are that we would want to target for LEOPS dollars, would essentially come from existing general fund dollars now. We are, yeah, so maybe it's a philosophical or theoretical thing that I think would be more appropriate. If, you know, it's not, feel passionate about a lot of things, this is probably not the most passionate thing I feel about, so I'm going to go with what my group here feels like. If the phased approach is not something that we want to do, then I guess the discussion is what to do with the unassigned.
And keep in mind that it's for 3 years, one of which we're currently in, right? So it's not saying this is how we're doing it in perpetuity. It's saying that over fiscal year 24, which is our current year, fiscal year 25, and fiscal year 26, this is how we want to intend to allocate our funds.
So each year we need to update our multi-year plan, correct?
I would say in FY 26, we should be submitting a new
The
law.
request was, once you complete the major project, with a date of completion, just like example, we have finished with the police department funding, then you will submit another multi-year plan. Now, you can allocate slot revenues to LEOPS for perpetuity, and it will stay the same. There are examples out there of other municipalities doing similar things. You're not required to put an end date on that project. Now, the unassigned balance, if we were deciding to go with the community center, then it would have a date of completion. And then the unassigned balance of the future will go to a different project.
And I would argue that we do give it a deadline, and we don't say that it's in perpetuity, because that gives us the chance to reevaluate our revenues and say, hey, if we can come off it by $50,000, then let's try to start absorbing some of that and utilize it for other projects. Right now, we're not there. You all know what the status of our last fiscal year budget was. We didn't have a surplus that we were arguing about how we're going to direct that. So I think there's something to be said for keeping it clean. We're going to have enough push-ups to do getting our multi-year plan adopted by the LDC.
So how clean does the group feel about the unassigned funds? Shanika's recommendation for community center.
Yeah, I'm all for the community center, however, I would like to see a small portion go to the fire company for capital, fund or something, to help them out.
How much?
Maybe 45,000.
What's the math? I can't, it's after 7:30.
So that'll leave you with what, 715?
Yeah.
17 and then follows.
275, maybe 175.
45 to the fire company? You said 45?
45. Yeah, 174, 175.
We keep it at a 175 for the community center and the remainder. Oh, no, make it a defined amount. So then let's structure it, if the group's okay with it, it would go for the items that are listed, so the stabilization fund, FY 24, 25, 26 LEOPS payments, $45,000 available to ambulance replacement.
Right, I think that's good. I support that.
Replacement, and then the remainder to the community center for those 3 fiscal years. So if revenues come in higher than the 420, that remainder would still go to the community center for capital projects. Is that okay?
Yes.
Can we get that in a motion?
I'll make a motion, we assign $45,000 of the unassigned funds to the ambulance fund and the remainder to the community center.
And that it would include the LEOP stabilization fund and FY 24, 25, and 26 LEOPS payment.
Yes.
All in favor? Well, I have a motion by Councilmember Merritt, a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Steve?
No, I'm for that. Jack had a
I had a
yes.
discussion before the vote,
Go
but
ahead.
that's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
So we are literally putting our LEOPS and our backup LEOPS in the same funding source for 3 years.
What do you mean backup LEOPS?
Well, we're doing LEOPS, and then the stabilization fund in case something happens to LEOPS is what, let me rephrase. Is the LEOPS stabilization fund the backup to LEOPS?
The LEOP stabilization fund is there in the event that, say, a 418 or a 420 does not come in as far as revenues go. The town's not trying to find the payment for LEOPs.
But the stabilization fund is also coming from the same source.
It is coming from LIG revenues, yes, but they are more so the carry forward revenues from FY '23.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay, so are you in opposition?
I am in opposition to this motion.
So I have 4 members in agreement with the draft, or with the multi-year plan to send to the LDC, and Councilmember Orris opposed. Thank you all.
Mayor, I would just to add, would you like to set a special account as we
For the stabilization?
So I would like your motion here so I can see open in a separate LEOPS stabilization fund. It's just-
Okay, so then let's get a separate motion to open the LEOP stabilization fund, a specific account.
So
So I have a motion by Councilmember Nichols, second by Councilmember Green. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
How are we funding that? This?
It's through this, but this was the multi-year plan. She needs the authority to open up
Just
another
open up
account.
an account and we can figure out how to put money in it later.
no,
Well,
it's-
425 will go into that account, according to that spreadsheet I have in front of me.
Are you in agreement or in opposition?
I'm in agreement of the opening a reserve account, yes.
So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Jack, I'm just curious, why did you not want to use this money for stabilization?
Well, I think I'm trying to sit and think it through, but we originally, back in, BC before COVID, when we talked about this, the idea in my head was that we would use some of the LDC funds for LEOPs, use some of the LDC funds for LEOPs. But then the restabilization fund, I don't think should come from the same source somehow. I think that should be probably more general fundish area. In the event of, God forbid, something happen where the casino is shut down or we don't get the revenue. I was not comfortable tonight, and I will be gladly proven wrong, that the funding source is the stabilization or the backup is the same as the original funding source. To me, that does not make sense.
But you know that one we have.
So if we are going to just do the shell game where it's money that's the same because it's all general fund, so be it. But I think that it needs to be clearly defined somewhere so that everyone understands, including myself right now, that we are not banking, no pun intended, on the casino for our backups. Does that make sense?
You know that we have in FY '23 as a carry forward, and it was in the
Yeah, but we're already,
presented financials.
I understand, but we're already using that to pay for this year's LEOPs.
So the future fiscal '24 revenues that we will be generating will go to that account to keep it at $425,000 to pay the next bill. It's basically a rollover snowball. You're not banking $425 and sitting on it forever. You have to place it in advance to be able to pay December bill. Right now, we coming up on a December payment for LEOPs.
No, the December payment for LEOPs will not occur until December 2024.
There's enough time that the stabilization fund and FY '24 should be covered.
Okay. Well, I can't change it, but okay.
But I'm sorry, I'm not trying to correct. I feel
No.
that you're misunderstanding. You have voted negative for the stabilization, but you were proven to create the LEOP stabilization of 425. It's the same thing.
So then I voted both ways. Let's move on. It's fine.
Thank you all for your help with that. We'll submit that to the LDC for their review, and they'll have, I think it's 45 days to meet, so we'll let the body know when that meeting is scheduled. All right, up next is agenda item 5A, item number 1, which is a memorandum of understanding between the Mayor and Council and We Heart Berlin. The folks from We Heart Berlin are welcome to come up for the next 2 agenda items. Really, the MOU, Mary, do you want to take the rationale behind the MOU?
I'd like to bring a sweatshirt, a heated blanket.
I know, it's chilly.
excuse me, the rationale behind the MOU is basically just to establish a clear relationship between the town and Lee Harper Lake. It's for the protection of both parties, so that as funds are raised, projects are undertaken, everybody understands where everybody's coming from. That covers it.
So we have that on, and the group here, if you all want to say anything about the MOU, I think that should be cut and dry, but.
Yeah, we did the same thing for the table tennis court.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the MOU.
And the other thing is, Mary, before we do that, with the table tennis side, this is a standing MOU that we can add
Yes,
future
this
projects.
MOU is
So it'll prevent
general
us
in
from having
nature,
to.
right.
To do a new one every time. Right.
Yeah, so, okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Orris and a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that agenda item 5A, item number 1, passes unanimously. Thank you. And then agenda item 5A, number 2, is motion 2023-45, authorize We Heart Berlin to proceed with striping of tennis courts for pickleball. And we have Tony and Jeff Smith here with us, so just tell us a little bit about the cost of the project and how you all met that. Perfect.
So I was approached officially by a member of council who wanted to make a donation towards having the tennis court striped with pickleball lines. We know that pickleball is a very big sport that's growing very rapidly, and that I see the chalk lines on the tennis courts for the pickleball games. So as a sort of show of inclusivity to the pickleballers, they don't have to bring chalk all the time, we figured it might be best to talk to some of them, see what would work to sort of be a middle ground between tennis and pickleball. And rather than taking one of our courts or two of our courts and converting it so that it was only pickleball or only tennis, I figured why not paint all four so that you can have both games on all the courts. The current courts actually have junior tennis lines as well as regular tennis lines, if you've ever noticed. They're in light blue. I'm going to say that we might want to do the, as you can see, this is what it would look like. This is what it looks like currently on the top left, and on the bottom right, this is what it would look like with pickleball lines. It extends about 4 or 5 inches on the back end of the forecourt, and there's a sort of little kitchen area in the front between the net and the backcourt of pickleball. So everybody can coexist harmoniously there. It might get busy, so we might want to think about putting signs up that say if there are people waiting, please limit your game to 20 minutes and let people on. Something we should definitely think about.
Go back to the coloring.
Yes.
You were just talking about.
So I think that the color should either be another shade of light blue or a shade of a light yellow. Light yellow is sort of what they currently use.
What is their regulation? Color?
Jay, do you know if there's
It's blue.
It's blue?
Yeah, I would think
So then we'll just go blue again, but a different than the junior tennis blue. And we sought funding for it. We started with $500 from Councilmember Durr. Thank you very much. Iron Skillet and Bee House Soap are donating as well. And Michael O'Malley, are you here? Michael O'Malley and his world, they own a pickleball business, and they are donating. Everybody's donations amount will be broadcast in the paper when we figure it all out. I don't want to misstate, but it's been funded. So we're at $3,500 to convert all four to both joint pickleball and tennis. And the same contractor that did the line striping on the Henry Park courts is the same guy who's going to come back and do the tape and then paint. We're not going to do any of the work this time. We're going to have the contractors do it.
Future projects, and you're getting better.
Yes, we're learning fast.
So for the non-pickleball people out there in the world that are watching or listening that play tennis or that don't know anything about pickleball, what are you modifying? And will there be any changes to anything other than what you stated?
There will be no other changes. Pickleballers would like if we lowered the net another 2 inches. That's the only other mechanical difference between the two games. It's sort of like a ping pong on a tennis court, if you will. I don't know how else to describe it. I have not played it yet, and I can't wait to play it. So this is sort of exciting and a lot. I mean, we're going to see even more traffic at Decatur Park.
So how are you
So-
lowering the nets to 2 inches?
Well,
We're not. We're not.
We've got an agreement that we don't
That
have
was
to
the
make any
clarity I
other
was looking
changes.
for.
Yes, so we're not gonna
looking
lower
to
the
make
nets.
Any changes to the net?
No.
Just adding the line?
Yes.
Great.
They currently add lines now with chalk. And so we're sort of saying, we don't need that anymore, let's just put these lines, keep your chalk at home. But like I said, we definitely want to think about putting some signs up that say, limit your games to 20 minutes or a half hour if there are people waiting. That's a really big thing that we should think about. Other than that, there will be no other material changes except for just some striped lines on the courts.
Great, that was the question. I mean, I know that some people aren't necessarily in the pickleball yet.
Yes.
Or, and I, you know, the power of yet, but at the same time, they don't necessarily want to see tennis altered that drastically.
Me, I'm on the pro tennis side of this, to be very honest, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't change the court's material. So I went to the pickleballers and I said, what would be the best way to harmoniously make this happen? And that's what they said.
And this is done at towns all across
All over the
country.
place. Yeah, this is nothing new, nothing revolutionary. We had some spur money and we made it happen with some donations from the public, and it didn't divert us away from the skate park at all, so we can keep focused on that.
So
But
I'll make a motion to approve 2023-45.
Second.
Hold on, I think Jack had
I'm
something.
sorry.
I was just
Or
curious
Jack.
to hear from the Parks Commission if they had a comment on the issue.
So we have the chairman here. Go.
I've had several pickleball people approach me in favor of it, and I haven't heard a negative thing from any tennis player.
Great.
So, yeah, not saying there's not some out there, but I get a lot of exposure between working at the visitor center and the church mouse, and people do approach me at those times also, and not a negative thing about it. Like I say, that tennis people have not played.
So on the form that you have here with us, it says, it has striping for the blank space. So just for clarity, we're talking all 4 courts?
yes.
Okay.
I did have one question. Laura Stern, I'm on the Parks Commission. I originally thought it was just gonna be on 2 of the courts. This is the first I've heard it's gonna be on all 4. I'm for pickleball, but I just was wondering if you're a tennis player, an avid tennis player, would that be distracting the lines, the additional lines?
The junior tennis lines aren't, and they're already there, they've been there, they have to be there. They're part of how we got a grant to make that sort of work years ago. I talked to a tennis instructor about this. And if they're the same sort of muted blue color, you really won't even notice. I mean, I play tennis religiously with my daughters.
I think the player of the particular sport knows to focus in
Yeah.
on the lines that
And I'm
line to
not
what they're
really
doing.
avid on it either, I just was wondering that as I was watching this, so I just wanted.
The white ones stand out so much that the muted blue would be
So
real
it should
tough.
be a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even see the muted blue on the pictures of ours currently.
So
I would say that part of the motion just needs to be your clarification of how many courts.
So I did have somebody that made a motion.
I did, motion to approve 2023-45 for 4 courts.
Okay, and I had a second by Vice President Burrell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect it's unanimous. For motion 2023-45. Thank you. I do want to say before you leave that without the help of folks like We Heart Berlin, this project probably would be years in the making, because we did evaluate applying for some grant funding to be able to
A
adjust.
full conversion of courts, yes.
And it does get challenging because of the way that the courts were originally funded. So it precluded future grants. So, but for us being able to do this in partnership with We Heart Berlin, it brings the sport to Berlin, but
We were really glad to be able to make it happen so easily. Thanks.
And Jimmy was advocating hard for you all at our FY24.
What do you guys
budget.
need from us to help get the project started? Do you need it cleaned, or do you need anything from Public
Probably
Works?
will be the clean.
A good power washing wouldn't hurt, but you know, it's,
And when do you start project? I might miss that if you did.
yeah. So we're shooting for good temperatures, which is right now in the next 30 days. The guy and you know, if it does, listen, the Henry Park courts had gum and stuff, it was something. So it's okay. I mean, if it has to go over a little piece of dirt or whatever, it'll be cleaned by the guys. He'll prep the court where he's going to be painting. But I'm shooting for the next 30 days. They're finishing up a basketball court or two in Tokyo right now. So they'll be back. They're hiking mountains in Tokyo right now, so they'll be back soon.
Well, keep us posted, we'll try to be able to help, but if staff can't.
It's all good. We're good.
It's not, you'll find out later that I have other issues coming up and I have more time considering issues, so I'll bring that up later.
Just keep the horticultural committee happy and I'm happy.
Thank you, Lee Hart.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
So Jimmy, not to put too much, while that's going on, not to put too much additional on you, but would your shop be able to make those signs, or would that be something that Lee Hart would get?
A lot of the signs I ship out, so.
Okay.
We could order some, if you wanted us to order some, we could order some signs, because it's not that hard. But
I was just wondering about.
we want them official, maybe Brian could make some.
Partner with Jimmy to make sure that they have everything they need on them.
Okay.
And we'll figure that out.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you guys.
All right, up next is Agenda 5B, which is Motion 2023-38, our annual event approval. And Economic Community Development Director Ivy Wells is going to report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the last several weeks, you have looked at the 2024 event schedule, and tonight, hopefully, we are here to get your approval. The events for 2024 are as they were in 2023, with two exceptions. The Berlin Restaurant Week moves to the third week in January instead of the second week. It worked out better for the restaurants. When we asked previously, sometimes they feel rushed after the holidays and the new year, so we moved it to the third week in January. And then also, after 2 years of the Touch a Truck event actually happening on the Saturday before Halloween, and it works out for the kids to be able to dress in costume and go trick-or-treating, so it's more of a truck and treat. That's worked out really successful. We're doing that this year, and then it's also going to be held. We're with Tim's approval, he wanted it to be permanently moved to that last Saturday before Halloween, moving forward. And then for our alcohol events for 2024, let's see, for the Berlin Chamber of Commerce holds the alcohol permit for the Berlin Town events, and that would be for Berlin Jazz and Blues, which is Saturday, May 6th from 11 to 6. Small Town Throwdown, which is actually an event thrown by the Atlantic Hotel and John Fager. That is Saturday, September 9th, 1 to 6. The Fiddler's Convention, which runs for 3 days, but 2 days for alcohol, which is Friday evening, 5 to 10, and Saturday, 11 to 6. Oktoberfest and the Fall Sidewalk Sale, Saturday, October 14th, 11 to 4. And then the New Year's Eve Ball Drop, which is 2 events, but the alcohol starts at from 10 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. So I am here tonight asking your approval for the town events, and then we have Melissa Reed here also, who will make a presentation for the museum events.
Thank you.
Are the alcohol events the same as last year?
Correct.
So, I mean, I have a couple of questions, and I wasn't really sure when to ask some of these, but
Sure.
I figure we're just gonna knock them out.
Okay.
So, the first one is in regards to the farmer's market. So what is the cost to be a vendor in the farmer's market? Is there a cost to be a vendor?
It is, yes, for town of Berlin businesses that have business licenses, there is no charge.
Okay.
The cost is $225 season.
And is there like any type of requirement or grant that it's a specific area in which the farmer's market can operate? Like we close Pitts, Maine, and Commerce. So is that like the only area in which it can really operate?
If you remember, the Berlin Farmers Market started on Artisans Green, and that's a privately owned field.
Right.
And the farmers market grew a little bit larger, and there were some ADA issues with it on that field. So then we moved it to the parking lot behind the J&M Meat Market, which is also privately owned by Taylor Bank. And there were some stipulations involved in that, and the market just started to grow so every year we added more and more farmers and bakers and food cultivators that it exceeded that footprint. So then we added Pitt Street, and then COVID hit. We had to separate each of the tents at least 10 feet to keep it open during COVID. We didn't want people crammed up. So we had it on Pitts and Commerce, and the reason we chose those streets were because both of those are town-owned roads, and it has the least impact on blocking an existing business with a tent. If you notice on Commerce Street, there's no businesses there except for Bruder Hill at the very end. And on Pitt Street, it's worked out really well. Bleach Butterfly, she actually sets up right outside of her business, and so does Bill Outen with Outen Delight. And Gin and Juice, and the new pizza shop, and J&M started opening on Sundays. It's been the farmers market is an economic driver for the town. The reason we had closed Main Street is because the pedestrian traffic, people were not looking both ways, they were just crossing from Pitts to Commerce. So Main Street is closed only because of pedestrian traffic.
So we maximize that further by using the grant-funded tables that are set up.
Right.
To allow folks to be able to actually eat and enjoy the market. I think that's led to some bigger sales in our restaurants and things like that.
Everyone, I mean, and the community likes it, the residents really love the weekly farmers market.
And we use the market as one of our saving graces during COVID because businesses opened up in front.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would say, to answer Councilmember Orris's original question, that we are not constrained by a grant or other regulation as far as the location goes. But the location has been determined after years of trying other areas and considerations such as ADA and that sort of thing.
Well, so the reason, thank you all. The reason I was asking that particular question is because I'm not sure if it's every week, but I have noticed that there have been pop-up vendors along Broad specifically.
Correct.
Now, are they part of this, or are they?
So they are not,
Okay.
and what has happened is the owner of Wainwright's, that's on private property, so the owner of Wainwright's created a partnership with some other individuals to be able to have pop-up vendors set up on their own private property. So if anybody has private property, they're entitled to do what they want to do on their own private property.
Okay. Well,
That is
that
not,
was really the point.
it's not part of the official market, no.
Okay. So.
And the reason they are not is because we try to keep our farmers market as authentic as possible. It's quality versus quantity. We're not trying to just keep adding vendors to make the market bigger. We don't want to compete with the businesses. And the vendors that we have to turn away because of that seek other properties to be able to set up.
Okay. The other question I have is about the additional event that you had not mentioned that you emailed us to the group regarding a Hanukkah celebration. So I'm going to actually refer to two emails, and this is the one, you probably don't have it in front of you, but this one was on the 28th, and I just wanted to go over some things because I had some questions. So you had stated in 2020, Berlin received a Main Street Improvement Grant, which I had asked, thank you, you sent to us. And I'm going to go through that first. So, just quoting the grant, I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. We'll be hosting an outdoor holiday marketplace as a celebration of religious diversity by showcasing a variety of food, gifts, and entertainment from around the world, and an assortment of items to help us celebrate each holiday. Our fall-winter strategy will be to purchase holiday lights, diverse holiday decor, and a large outdoor menorah for use for holiday displays during the month of December. We will be planning a first night of Hanukkah lighting festival and collaborate with I'm watching Halloween movies Friday nights, and collaborate with our local elementary school to showcase holiday art. And we will need to purchase string lights, a menorah, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, kids activities, and projects to educate how each holiday is celebrated. And we'll be purchasing a chair for the Kringle Cottage. So this grant, this one was, I believe, it's for FY 2022, so it would have to be expensed
It's already been expended.
It's already been expensed, great, okay, cool. So I guess my question is.
That's when we started Mary Marketplace, if you remember, we started Mary Marketplace.
So I guess, I have a couple questions here. The big thing I'm hearing is diversity, which I think is great. I have nothing against that. I personally love hearing about other faiths and celebrations. A quick Google search yielded about 11 other holidays in December. Diwali, I'm going to mess up saying them, I'm sure, Feast Day, of course Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas. And I have a coworker who is Muslim, so I asked her, and they actually celebrate their equivalent, if you will, in April. So I guess, what are the future plans to further diversify and meet the grant requirements further? I assume the same verbiage will continue in future grants.
So that grant was specific for that 1 year. We purchased art projects for kids. We actually still have some that for all the holidays. I can't name them either, but every week we would put out in the Welcome Center, we would put out free kids crafts and educational things about each of those holidays. The only thing that we never got to do was purchase the menorah and have that was the only one we didn't, because we ran out of funding. We didn't purchase the menorah, have the menorah lighting, so it's always been a goal for us to do that. So this was the year we actually had a menorah donated, so we thought we've fulfilled the grant obligation, but our own obligation to what we wanted to do that this year, finally, after COVID, and we just wanted to bring that, and we were approached by some members of the Jewish community.
Okay. So this event, I'm just curious now, thank you. I'm just curious now is why this new event hasn't been in the events listed in either the 9/11 or the 9/25 packet. And you had emailed us on 9/20 saying that there were no.
It's not in this packet either.
That's what I'm saying, it's not.
Right, we don't know, we're not projecting doing that every year. We don't know if we're going to continue doing it. We would like to, but I'm not going to project I'm not going to project that every year, just in case.
Okay. And then I noticed that on the agenda, the next line is a separation of events. Full disclosure, I am a board member of the town, oh my word. I am a board member of the museum, so I am going to respectfully abstain from the next motion. But, well, I can't say any more about it because I'm going to do that. But my last question, I guess, is what were the Kwanzaa crafts?
Oh gosh, I honestly don't remember. I mean, it was a big package of all. I still have some over at the Welcome Center. You're more than welcome to come by and check them out. But most of it was a booklet with some. We gave kids a booklet describing what the holiday was and a free package of crayons.
Okay. Thank you.
Couple questions myself. Yeah, I don't believe, so this 1 year mark for me right now. So is it typical for the museum events to be separated from the town and chamber events?
Yes.
For a motion like this tonight?
Well, typically, the museum would have to come, every so often and ask for permission for alcohol in an event. So I made the suggestion that they come to this meeting tonight and ask for all the events at once, so then they wouldn't have to keep coming back and asking for an alcohol permit. And we could be in one letter, just like ours is, to save the museum and Melissa time from having to do that.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, because I just think it's very important for the town to have that wholesale one spot where all the events are listed, no matter where they're held. That will still continue, no matter.
Oh, absolutely. So before, you would have to come and present, at various meetings throughout the year, and this I thought it might streamline the process for all the events to be presented in one meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then there's one thing, we have some chamber folks here. Last spring, the chamber came before with a request for a rain date for the spring celebration, Jazz and Blues Bash, and the council opted to provide a rain date for one of the events, the Jazz and Blues Bash, due to the financial investment that you all put into it. It's not on our list. Is that something that we can expect a request, or is that something that the council should entertain at this time with the schedule of events? I can ask that to whoever really, just the chamber folks want to address it. It was a bit of a controversial matter last year here, so I want to make sure I'd like to address it now so everybody has the plan.
Ivy, do you want to speak about that, or do you want?
I'll have Ryan speak. Most of the events on here are chamber events, so I'll have Ryan speak for that.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I didn't come back for it, but here we are. Yes, we would like to have rain dates, as evidenced by the Fiddlers Convention, what is probably going to happen with Oktoberfest. You know, we tend to have most of our events in the shoulder season, and the shoulder season tends to be not always as pleasant as the summer.
And so as far as rain, I mean, are you looking to bounce into a Sunday, or are you looking to bounce into the next Saturday?
That's something that we actually had not discussed. What we had done last year was to move Jazz and Blues back a week if it rained. Fortunately, we didn't have to do that. If that's something that we can do, then yes, we'd like to probably at another time have a conversation about rain dates and availability and what we can do to offset the difficulties.
Sure. So I think the rain date's very important, I have to say, and I know, and it's going to come down to manpower and the issues that come with that, but I spoke to some merchants with Fiddlers, you know, and I talked to Ryan about, you want to go?
After you're done, I just
Okay.
have something to say.
Okay. So I just think, I mean, Fiddlers wasn't an economic hit, you know, it surely was. It was a 3-day event. And, you know, so that was, you know, I don't think that's, I'm not sure that would be an event that you would seek a rain date for because of all the acts, you know, that would be a weekend. But Jazz and Blues just sticks out in my head because I know the financial investment that was put into it. It happened to be beautiful this past spring. But I thought of, man, if it did rain, you know, the consequences for our businesses. And I know from Fiddlers, just losing the Fiddlers Convention, what that meant for economic development. And I'll go ahead and give Laura my time.
The event dates, they're, you know, when they're written in stone, then people can plan of their own personal events around those dates. So if you add rain dates, that's gonna, you know, add a lot more dates. And for example, the Atlantic Hotel books weddings. We book them around those dates because I can't imagine having my wedding on Fiddlers Convention.
Right.
Or
Bike Week.
Or bike, you know, anything.
Actually, the bikers are very, very friendly.
They are.
They are.
I'm using the Atlantic as an example, but I'm sure there's other people in the community that plan their own personal events around the town events to avoid those dates. And if you add rain dates, then that, you know, can double the event dates that would be unavailable.
Well, just looking at, I didn't mean to cut Laura off. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I'm done.
But if you just look at the dates that are present, this schedule is jam-packed. Like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, unless the rain dates are literally the next day. I don't know, like, I'm looking here at this one, I know that this says, look at this, like, May 18th, and then a following week, May 26th. Or, where's another one I saw?
I was not asking for every event.
No, I'm just saying.
There's plenty of wiggle room.
Yeah, I mean, if you
There
look at
is.
these guys, I don't know.
But
No, I don't want to be that Debbie Downer.
Also, to
But-
Laura's point, and this was what was raised last
That's
time,
just what was
it
raised
requires
last
commitment on
time.
the part of our personnel and equipment to multiple dates. It's the same consideration.
Yep.
Laura made the point that was discussed during the last discussion of possible rain dates. The impact of additional dates on families and family planning. That was the point. That was attempted to be made during the last discussion of rain dates. And thank you.
All right, so we still need a motion, right?
I just got a real quick question for Ivy. Ivy, you stated for the farmer's market that vendors pay $225 per season unless they're a member of the chamber.
Unless they're a town.
Not a
business
chamber
license.
member unless they have a Berlin business license.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I just want to clarify that. Thanks.
So if the chamber wants to come back and ask for a rain date for a specific event, what's the mechanism to do that?
Ask, start with the Ivy Shop, and then from there, we'll get on a Marion Council agenda.
So the way rain dates work and the way that the State Highway Administration works, when we submit road closure, we have to also submit the rain date for that when we need Main Street closed.
Do you automatically do that now or no?
Yes, but we don't automatically put a rain date in if there's no rain date.
So I think we need a motion, right? 2023-38.
Yeah, motion to approve the annual events, motion 2023-38.
Motion by Councilmember Orris, and a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor?
Just so I understand, the motion is inclusive of the alcohol events also.
Yes, yes it is.
Not, you know it's not the Taylor House, so.
Yes,
Okay. So Vice President Burrell's question before we vote was whether the events included the alcohol-related event, and they do. So we have a motion by Councilmember Orris and a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that motion 2023-38 passes unanimously. Thank you. Up next is motion 2023-46, which is the Taylor House Museum 2024 event approval. And we have Museum President Dr. Melissa Reed. And we have Dr. on too. So thank you for joining.
So here are the events. They are the same as they were last year. They are all alcohol events except for Beach Festival. So it's the Sundays on the lawn. They take place once a month from June to September. It's a pig roast event, Peach Festival, and our event in the fall, which is Harvest Festival. It's been a couple different names, but it will be Saturday, October 12th.
Thank you. And these are events that are contained on the grounds of the museum?
100%, yes.
All right, so we need a motion for 2023-46.
2023-46.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Nerd.
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that it's nothing with one abstention. Councilmember Orris. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Up next is agenda item 5D, motion 2023-47. Authorize the reallocation of unspent Berlin Fire Company Emergency Medical Services funds from FY23 to FY24 in the amount of $8,884.08. And it has our town administrator, Mary Bolton, running point, but I think Natalie's going to also assist if needed.
Essentially, this is a request that was made by the fire company, or I should say, a request that was expressed during the work session with the fire company EMS a couple of weeks ago. I lost track of the date, sorry. To reallocate funding that was left over in the prior fiscal year to this fiscal year in the amount of $8,884.09.
After there's no discussion, move to approve.
So a motion by Vice President Burrell.
Hold on, actually, yeah, I'd like to discuss this. At that work session, the conversation was that would we consider, in the letter here too, it says, would we consider using those shortage of dollars that were not used in the last budget to either create an ambulance fund or for a contingency to be set up. I would favor an ambulance fund because we are looking at if we're going to take serious their requests for the capital dollars and what they're facing, because FY24 emergency personnel cost is budgeted already. I would prefer to see those funds used for EMS capital rather than put just back into the budget. It's already funded.
And we just put $45,000 in casino money in.
Right.
For an ambulance. Now, do you have anything you want to add?
It's in your decision power to reallocate and reassign. This is a leftover from $125,000 allocated to personnel in fiscal '23. So the purpose is to utilize it for emergency personnel staff. That's how I see it.
It's just already funded, that's my thing. It's going to get forwarded to a line item that's already funded at the level
But to that point
It's
too.
one time, basically, we're gonna advance, I'm gonna bring your budget amendment probably closer to December, that it will be advanced from the reserve, 8,884, and allocated to the fire company, fire emergency services. So it's only one time. It's not establishing a capital outlay for them going in the future.
But-
And this is a leftover fund that they have not asked for personnel costs from fiscal '23.
But I think there's also a chance that they could get this back. We had originally discussed as a group, it was recommended by the police department, to have an ambulance on site for certain events. So this additional funding could allow us to be able to then have a conversation with the Berlin Fire Company Emergency Medical Services and say, look, we have an additional almost $9,000 in staffing funds. We want to see an ambulance at these events that have been recommended by the police department. We understand that might come at an additional cost, but now we have some ways that we can hopefully tackle some of that. So I think it can be
I'm sorry,
quicker.
I'm not interrupting. As I recollected in the previous meeting, fire company was present, the fire company and emergency services were present. They stated correctly that they're short on funding the personnel, and if we do not allocate more towards that, they will cease the operation in January. So I consider that would be helpful to this money.
But also in the work session, they stated that they're really short on equipment funding. What they need, just fire trucks, ambulances, everything. And I know we just allocated the 45, but additionally, I think would be helpful.
I mean, I don't disagree that it would be helpful, but what the priority is, honestly, if we have the additional funding, we need emergency medical staffing for our events to make it safer. They're as important as those hard stop barriers. We need the $8,000 for that, honestly.
I'm with that too.
Can we do it to that, then direct it to that?
It puts it in personnel, and we've budgeted for the 2 additional personnel is what the 125 is for. If we take this almost $9,000 and say, we want staffing at the following events, and here's $9,000 to cover it, we probably could come close.
Well, I like that.
Well, that contingency
How's
should be
that?
in your motion as well.
The what?
The specific contingency for specific or not specific for the events.
It says as defined by the mayor and council, and it should be more clearly defined at this point, if that's the direction that you.
I would request that you make it specific for events. We need the coverage, it's been identified by the police department.
So events as deemed by.
I have the list, I can send it to all of you, so you know exactly what they are.
Yeah, I remember, I think the estimated cost for those events was $11,000 or $12,000, so maybe, but we hit.
We're pretty close.
Pick the big ones. I mean, I would get behind that personally.
I'll withdraw my motion. You're out now?
Do you want to bring this back at the next meeting with the amended?
With the
wording?
specific event.
I don't think we need to do
I don't think
that.
we
Full
need
disclosure,
to.
I left this work session because I was under the weather, but from the conversations that I heard here and read in the minutes, the EMS folks would feel it better used than what they just said in the work session. Is that what I'm hearing? They're not.
They just don't want to leave money on the table, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's-
Oh,
Yeah, they said in their letter,
Saving money.
in their letter, they would prefer to use it, I believe, for EMS capital or the restoration of the EMS contingency fund that has been depleted.
And we're helping cover capital with the LDC funds right at this moment, which is an additional
And at
45.
the end of the day, this is monies that you allocated before
For
unspent.
got it.
So reallocating them to FY '24 is purely your choice. It's a request by the fire company, but at the end of the day, it is your choice whether to reallocate that or hold on to it or.
I think, well, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we reallocate the budgeted funds of $8,884.08.
9 cents.
9 cents, excuse me. To the EMS for use at events.
For,
To fund EMS coverage for town events.
and we have the specific list, and it's been identified by the fire company, or by the police department.
I'll second that motion.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Orris, second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? How would lose you along the way? You hop off the bus.
I really do believe that we should not put strings to how they use these funds as long as it's being used by them to facilitate staffing of these ambulances.
So are you, if I hear what you're saying correctly, the part that you're opposed to is saying that the staffing goes towards a specific event? Is that the part you're opposed to?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So it's 4-1 with Vice President Burrell in opposition. I was just doing what that did. You didn't have to.
That's okay.
Well, I was gonna ask, because I was just curious to where the,
All right, up next is agenda item 6, which are departmental reports, town administrators report.
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy quickly. I know you're all on the edge of your seat from what he was referencing earlier, so I'll let him elaborate.
So we're more challenges with our trash truck, our automated trash truck. Next Tuesday, it goes into the shop for 14 days.
what? 14 days?
How many times did that arm move?
That arm moves
Lots.
16,000 times a week. We do 1,800 cans a week. That truck runs 52 weeks a year. We have compactor issues, which is now, we got the arm fixed and it comes in. The truck it's in its 4th year.
Microphone, please.
It'll be in its 5th year this February. And these trucks are probably only 5 to 6 years before, and that'll be something else that I'm having another conversation too.
So what happens during the 14-day time, the 14-day
So right now, we are exploring options to assist in finding a second automated truck that could help us for the 2 to 3 weeks it'll take. We're very limited in where them resources fall. There's not a lot of, we're one of the only few automated trucks other than Ocean City and a couple like through Salisbury.
We're looking to borrow one.
Okay, I was about
And
to
we've had
say,
good
so-
partnerships in the past.
We have.
And folks,
So tell me what is the cost of these trucks? Yeah.
A new truck is starting at $300,000 range. This truck actually, if I recall right, was 275.
Pretty good.
275.
And the life expectancy? And the
565.
usage life is 5 years?
Where you run into issues is so we have vehicle maintenance, we talked about this before, and then we have equipment maintenance. The equipment part of this truck, the arms, the compacting of the truck, it's just not made, it's made, but it's not made to, it takes a lot to run these trucks.
So how would we extend the life of a truck? By buying another?
Yes.
kind of like rotating them.
Like Ocean City, when I talk to Ocean City, they're buying 2 to 3 trucks every year. And and the issue now is lead time. They're a year out. So we're gonna have conversation in November about buying a truck for November of '24. And that's just to hopefully get ourselves on a list for a year out truck.
So, I'm sorry.
And like I said, with Ocean City, I talked to Woody Vickers over there, and they're actually waiting on, they had 2 trucks from last year they're still waiting on to get. They had a truck on fire, they have other, and then they're actually ordering 2 more trucks. That's how big of a operation they have, but we're our truck is running every week too.
Over
It's,
14 days, how many truck operating days are we talking?
We have 3 full days of trash pickup. We use the truck, actually it runs all 5 days. Monday and Fridays, it does all the downtown cans. And then the parks, which is about 50 to 75 cans on Mondays and Fridays. Tuesdays, we're looking at, I think it's 700 cans on Tuesdays. Wednesday, it's like 500 and some, and somewhere around like 600 and some for Thursdays.
Is it just the hydraulic components that are wearing out?
Yes.
The truck itself, that's the difference between the truck and the equipment.
Right.
Can't you replace just the hydraulic?
We will, but it's such a big project to take it to the, there's a place in Salisbury that'll take it, and they'll rebuild all the cylinders. They'll all seals, they'll even, make sure that they're not bent and all that. But it's just a process that takes time, and you're getting into that, a lot of these aren't just sitting right here. You might have to take half the truck apart just to get to that one cylinder that's underneath in them areas.
So when does this 14-day process, what are we talking?
Next Tuesday, October 17th.
Part of what Jimmy is working on borrowing the truck, but he also wanted you to be aware that you may see the street cans pulled and replaced with waste wheelers. Because if we have to do that trash manually, meaning a guy picks it up, they can't do the street cans, they have to do. So just in case you notice that the nice street cans have been replaced with waste wheelers, that's why.
So long-term, I think this happened, but if I remember right, this was asked and studied before, and I'm not saying this is the way to go, but should we look at another avenue for ways to collect trash?
It's not recommended. What we found when we explored it before was that, for one thing, the cost savings was minuscule.
But didn't we also just buy the new trucks at that point?
We were talking about the yearly operating costs, regardless of the cost of the trucks. The cost savings was minuscule, and we were only going to get them to guarantee us a price for a period of time. No idea what that price might do after that. You can guarantee it would be significant. And we would also lose a lot of control over the service that we were providing to the citizens. It just didn't wash out.
I think.
I would just like to say that I watched the guys manually doing the trash removal, and that put those people in some compromising positions, especially related to safety and their well-being in relationship to that truck and traffic. You can really get hurt.
Yeah.
And the items that we're actually putting in these cans, because let's be real, we don't all follow the rules on what should be in the can. And when the person is lifting the can versus the mechanical arm, the possibility of the liability of what could happen, I wouldn't want that to, that's not a fair thing.
Ask Jimmy about the guy that tried to throw away a motorcycle.
I'm sorry.
In a waste wheeler.
What?
You.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the update. Do you need anything from us as far as action items?
I was just wanted to make you aware that from the 17th through the 3rd, that all crews will be doing trash.
Can we make some sort of social media post about this?
We will, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else for departmentals? Mary?
No, we can jump back. Something that came out just today, the funeral home reached out to us about being able to close off most of Vine Street on Saturday. They have a funeral, and with the event that's going on in town, they want to make sure that they're able to accommodate the funeral, so I've put them in touch with Chief Downing, and he doesn't see an issue with it. Just in case you see that Vine Street is blocked off, that's why.
They'll let the residences know.
Yes, it shouldn't interfere with the residents because they can always go the other way. So they just can't go out to Lincoln Street. The only other thing that I have is that I will be out the rest of the week with limited availability.
Thank you.
I have one more thing to add for departmental reports, if that's okay. We've been watching the weather for Saturday, and it looks very wet on Saturday. So we've been working on a contingency plan for Saturday, because that's what we do. The Edelweiss band that is grant funded will go into the Globe, and the Dune Hounds will go into Sterling Tavern. That's been sponsored by Sterling Tavern. And each of the restaurants and sweet shops that were offering their Bavarian foods, they're going to also offer those, but inside, and the sidewalk sale will move inside. The only thing that we would have to cancel for Saturday if it rains are the kids' events.
Heading to.
Thank you.
That's a great pivot.
I love the pivot. It's, I mean, that's spot on. I like that.
Anything else for department? Casper, you got a score on the O's game?
They're losing 6-0.
They're what?
They're losing 6-0 in the bottom, the second inning.
Goodness.
Oh, it's only the second inning now. Only the second.
All right. I thought they were going to do better since we weren't watching the TV. All right. Up next, comments from the public. Anyone that would like to address the mayor and council, please come forward. Name, street name, and item that you would like to discuss. All right. Up next is comments from the council. We'll start with Vice President Burrell.
I don't know.
Councilmember Nair.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Nichols.
Nothing.
Councilmember Orris.
Yes, just real quick, some of the HOA leaders in District 2 have reached out with the new, with the new adjustments to HOA regulations within the state. Some of them are just growing concerned about how to go about their grant writing and application status and stuff like that. So they're reaching out to see if there's a possibility that the town will be able to assist them. So I'm wondering, is there a way or a avenue of which someone could meet with our folks to help them with their grant if they choose to do that? Not saying necessarily.
What are you, do you have a specific, yeah, what are you?
Well, this is, Henry Mills, and probably, they haven't reached out to me directly, but probably Frank Mabel may need assistance with their grant writing.
There are several individuals that do grant writing in the area at a nominal cost. It's what they charge versus what you can get in return. It's well worth it. And we can certainly provide them with some names.
Now, if there's
Don't we
a
employ
problem,
a grant writer?
no.
No.
We have a contractual fund that we use for some grant writing services, but we don't employ a
And
grant
staff
writer.
does write grants on occasion, but the bigger grants are the ones that we don't have the time for. We use someone.
Okay.
The other
That would
thing
put on
is-
radar then, that with these new regulations, there are a lot of questions that are going to become our way.
Well, and the other thing is that if there's a grant that is happening that impacts the town as a whole, we could maybe assist an HOA with like a letter of support, but that's going to be project specific, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to meet with you about that, or the HOA. I mean, we do letters of support all the time here, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was all I had.
Councilmember Green?
I just have one thing. So Mary sent us an email with a letter from the Maryland Department of Transportation, and still being kind of new to this, I've looked into it some, and I thought it was a win, so I just wanted to share this. And Natalie's still here, so I think hopefully this is going to be, it's basically a pat on the back for you, I hope. So highway user revenue last year in the budget was $230,000, and during budget time, you said that you were going to be more aggressive with the revenues, right? So we took it to $299,000. Sorry about that. Got a letter that Mary sent, and it said that the HUR estimates have been increased to $298,491. So I think it's a great thing, because it's $299,000, right, that we budgeted, and the letter says $298,491. So that's that's an increase of $69,000 in new revenue that I'm glad to see us be aggressive with. And I think that's a significant budget impact. So
Now, this is their estimate.
Right.
yeah,
it is
but I
estimate.
still like it.
That's number,
Yeah.
that's all dependent on what they will collect and will
yeah.
be sent to us.
And that's your.
Natalie likes cash in
That's
hand.
I agree. I totally get it. But next year, their estimate is $339,000.
And an estimate again.
I know, but it's still great. So anyway, I know we had that conversation on budget time about being a little bit more aggressive with our revenues. Income tax was my thing. You had already done the job with the user revenue. So I just thought it was a great thing. I had to dig into it a little bit, but I see that number, it's a nice number, but truly it's significant. So that's.
HURs has some hurdles. I mean, we've overcome some with our partnership with the Maryland Municipal League and their advocacy. with getting those HURs restored.
Yeah.
And they're still not where they used to be, but at least better than what they were. But there are challenges with that, right? So the underlying framework for how those things are collected, I know the state has a funding or a study group for evaluating how folks pay into the highway user revenues. So we got to keep that in mind with the changes to the way vehicles are powered.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
So it makes the situation as more satisfying is to budget conservative and receive more above what was estimated, then we would have a little bit over situation like Public Works.
Right. No.
Not to come on the dot and allocate the full amount, because I can say that we will have to look in fiscal 25 for a new trash truck. We'll have to seek the funding.
Right.
Let's let Steve be happy.
Yes.
I know.
Steve, way to go, buddy. Happy 1 year.
Speaking of not happy, about the, so I just wanted to follow on the tour of the chicken plant earlier tonight. I thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed going in there. You know, I think there were some demo prospective bidders that were there. It was really interesting hearing their insights and hearing from DBF. And I think there were about 25 people there. Some of you that are here now still. Thanks for staying late night. You know, I think looking forward to hearing the further recommendation from DBF. But you know, one thing we definitely were confirmed is we're not taking that whole thing down. We never could with the amount of demo grant. But there are a few buildings that you know, were obvious and that they said absolutely need to come down. They still didn't. They showed us where the weaknesses were. But you know, one of my takeaways though was that building is open. It's easy to get into. I would like for us to consider some sort of either it's fencing along the side with the railroad tracks. We all saw how open it is. We all saw how much activity is evidently in there. You know, don't like seeing beds in there. I would like to see us, you know, close up that in some way if we can, whether it's a fence or retaining walls or something like that. It was a little disturbing to me. There's a liability concern too.
You may recall from one of my earlier weekly reports that that's one of the things that Andrew had mentioned was working to mitigate those open areas, because obviously once the demolition crew goes in, they don't want access.
Right.
But it's on the list.
Thank you. Up next are comments from the mayor. I have 2 items. One, I wanted to thank Ivy, Economic Development, and Sarah for putting together the business roundtable with the Chamber of Commerce. We had Small Business Administration represented there, Small Business Development Center. We had Beacon, Business Economic Community Outreach Network from Salisbury University there as well, and several of our businesses. Great conversation, and then we're also restarting the merchant meetings with Ivy's shop, so thank you for that.
Second Wednesday of the month, 8:30 to 9:30 right here.
There we are.
Tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. So thank you. Very much appreciate the both of you.
So Mayor, what were some of the other outcomes of that meeting? I mean, obviously you had the meeting.
Yes, we had conversations about marketing, we had conversations about collecting. Really the big thing that I was happy to see us all find some consensus around was trying to collect more information about the folks that are shopping in Berlin, so that maybe we can start to tailor our marketing efforts more specifically to the folks that are spending money downtown to help our businesses. And then also conversations about ways that maybe we can promote marketing efforts, whether that's through grant requests that we make annually or through general fund dollars that we direct. So I think we had some really good conversation, a lot of things that we didn't get a chance to cover because of time. I mean, an hour and a half went pretty quick, but we're picking that up and moving forward. Thank you. Up next is something I reached out to the group via email. I think I only got 1 or 2 responses, so I wanted to follow up with everybody. Tonight there were some questions about more specifics, but I figured we could discuss that now. We received a request from Eastern Shore Natural Gas, the provider of natural gas to the town of Berlin, regarding a Worcester County resiliency project that they're working on and a letter of support. The location of the facility would be in Bishopville, so outside of the municipal limits of the town of Berlin. Project details 5 100,000 gallon horizontal storage tanks with 14,000 14,000 day send out capacity, so resiliency was a big component of that. Where the town of Berlin falls into play is our customer base, right? So the residents that utilize natural gas for heating or cooking or whatever else it may be. But then also from a municipal government standpoint, we power our electric utility utilizing one natural gas generator, and our hope is to onboard at the direction of our electric utility director more natural gas generators. As a matter of fact, the Maryland Energy Administration has been a grant funder of that as well. So from a resiliency standpoint, we operate a peak shaving facility. We can't really do that without natural gas. So we see that as a resiliency component for how we operate our utility. So I need.
You talked about bid capacity.
Yes.
Can you say it slower?
Well, and this is project details. 5 100,000 gallon horizontal storage tanks.
So that would be 500,000 gallons of stored on site.
Liquid natural gas.
Stored on site.
Correct.
And this is in
Bishopville. And the project, before I even drafted our letter, I talked to the county and said, it's outside of municipal limits of Berlin. This is the value add we see for our customer base and our operations. How does the county feel about it? They just authorized their letter of support, I think, last week. So they were on board with the project also.
So in my mind, when I think about this, I think about what I see at like a suburban propane, but on a larger capacity. And this is happening out in Bishopville, I'm assuming an enclosed site or what have you.
It says located on 100 plus or minus 135 acres. It's a rural parcel adjacent to an active existing asphalt plant in Bishopville. Includes pipeline looping to Delmar, upgrades to 3 existing meter and regulator stations, Selbyville, Berlin, Thompson.
The concrete plant is.
Mayor, actually, it's on the left side of 113, Route 113, up toward Bishopville, before you get to the Bishopville Road, and it's that industrial park, which has already been there. So it's not in the town, it's not near any residential properties. They've asked me to help them with the location, and we have a contract pending, but it's in a farm area, so it's totally isolated. The facility provides no danger to any home or anything like that.
Thank you.
We appreciate
They would
it.
have requirements for
Yeah.
closing it, fencing it.
That was my only question, was just trying to envision that, you know what I mean? That propane, that chop tank kind of, or whatever they're called, suburban propane kind of thing, multiplied by however many these are. But then again, you're saying and I thank you for that, Mr. Moore, giving the, more of a visual, because trying to think about that near Holiday Harbor or something, I'm like, what? Freaking me out.
No, this is a rural.
It's literally in the
I
middle
need
of
3 people to say
110
yes.
acres.
Motion to send the letter.
Did you get it?
I had you, I had a question from you, and I don't think I got it from anybody else.
Well, I wanted to ask the question out loud.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Morris, second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Sarah and I will make sure the letter goes out tomorrow. All right, up next are comments from the press. Do we have any left? All right, up next, Vice President Burrell.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you all.
Good seeing you, Ed.
Thank you.
Hey.
We finished before 9. Oh, come on.